When Ethan Cole accepted the job as a chauffeur for the Lewis Hotel empire, he thought he'd found steady work to support his struggling family. What he didn't expect was to become invisible, dismissed as background staff by the wealthy elite who saw him as nothing more than hired help. But everything changed the night millionaire heiress Amara Lewis shocked a room full of high society by declaring 3 words that would destroy reputations, ignite scandals, and force 2 people from opposite worlds to choose between love and everything they thought they needed. In a world where money talks and status whispers, one moment of courage would expose the darkest secrets of privilege, reveal who really has power when hearts are on the line, and prove that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is tell the truth. But when leaked photos threaten to destroy them both, and family loyalty is tested to its breaking point, will their love survive the ultimate choice between hiding in the shadows or standing together in the light? If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're from, because this story of love crossing impossible lines will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about class, courage, and what it really means to fight for someone. The rain came down hard that afternoon. Thick drops hit the concrete like tiny fists. Ethan Cole pulled the black sedan up to the loading bay behind the Lewis Hotel. The windshield wipers swept back and forth, back and forth. He checked his watch. 5 minutes early. Perfect. Ethan grabbed his umbrella from the passenger seat. His fingers were steady as he opened the car door. The rain hit his face right away, cold and sharp. But he didn't rush. He never rushed. The hotel's back door burst open. Staff rushed out into the rain. They carried boxes and flowers, getting ready for tonight's big dinner. Important people were coming, investors, rich folks who could make or break the Lewis family business. Ethan opened the umbrella. He held it high and walked to the main entrance. The glass doors sparkled even in the gray light. Inside, he could see the marble floors, polished to a perfect shine, like a mirror. A woman rushed past him. She barely looked his way. Just another worker in a dark suit, background staff. That's what Diane Lewis always called drivers like him, background staff. The woman was Diane herself, Amara's mother, the boss of everything at Lewis Hotels. Her heels clicked fast on the wet ground. Click, click, click. She disappeared through the glass doors without a word to Ethan. That was fine with him. He liked being invisible. It made the job easier. Ethan waited by the entrance. His black suit was getting wet around the edges, but he stood straight. Professional. That's what they paid him for. More cars pulled up, expensive ones. Mercedes, BMW, a Bentley that cost more than Ethan made in 5 years. Men in $1,000 suits got out. They handed their keys to valets who ran to park their cars. Nobody handed Ethan any keys. He wasn't a valet. He was Amara Lewis's driver, only hers. For 3 months now, he'd driven her everywhere, to meetings, to lunch, to the other hotels her family owned. She never talked much. Most days she sat in the back seat with her phone, making calls, reading emails, running the business side of the hotels. She was smart, really smart. Ethan could tell from listening to her phone calls, but today felt different. The rain, the big dinner tonight, everyone was on edge. The glass doors opened. Amara Lewis stepped out. She wore a dark blue dress that fit her perfectly. Her hair was pulled back neat and professional. No jewelry except small earrings that caught the light. She moved with confidence, like she owned the world, which, in a way, she did. At least this part of it. Ethan stepped forward with the umbrella. "Good afternoon, Ms. Lewis." "Afternoon, Ethan." Her voice was calm, controlled. It always was. He held the umbrella over her as they walked to the car. His arm stayed steady even though the wind tried to grab the umbrella away. Rain bounced off the black fabric above their heads. They reached the sedan. Ethan opened the back door for her, but as she stepped toward the car, something happened. The marble threshold inside the hotel entrance was wet, water from people's shoes and umbrellas. A man in an expensive suit slipped. He grabbed for the brass door handle, missed, started to fall backward, right toward Amara. Ethan moved without thinking. His free arm came around Amara's waist, steady, protective. He pulled her away from the falling man and against his side. The man hit the ground hard. His suit jacket tore. His face turned red with embarrassment. Other men rushed to help him up, but Ethan's attention was on Amara. "You okay?" She looked up at him. For a second, something passed between them, something real. Her brown eyes were wide, surprised, not by the fall, by how safe she felt in his arms. "I'm fine," she said, but her voice was different, softer. "Thank you." He let go of her waist, stepped back. Professional distance again. "Just doing my job, ma'am." She got into the car. Ethan closed the door and walked around to the driver's seat. In the rearview mirror, he saw her touch the spot where his arm had been, just for a second. Near the hotel entrance, a young man in a doorman's uniform watched everything. Jem Alvarez. He'd worked at the hotel for 2 years. He'd seen a lot of drivers come and go. But Ethan was different, calm, respectful, never trying to get attention or tips. Jem smiled to himself. The way Ethan had moved to protect Ms. Lewis, quick but gentle, professional but caring. That took character. Inside the car, Amara was quiet. She looked out the window as they drove away from the hotel. The rain was stopping now, just a drizzle. "Where to, Ms. Lewis?" Ethan asked. "Home, please." Her home was a penthouse condo. Downtown, floor-to-ceiling windows, views of the ocean, everything perfect and expensive and cold. As they drove, Amara's phone buzzed. A text from Marcus Hale, the banker who'd been trying to ask her out for months. Tonight's dinner would be the perfect time, the text said. Important people watching. Good for both their careers. She deleted the message without answering. The sedan pulled up to her building. The doorman rushed out with an umbrella, even though the rain had almost stopped. Ethan got out first, opened her door. "Thank you, Ethan. I'll need the car at 6:30. "Yes, ma'am, I'll be here." She walked toward the building, then stopped, turned back. "Ethan." "Yes, ma'am?" "Drive safe, the roads are still wet." He nodded. She'd never said anything like that before, never seemed to think about him after he dropped her off. "I will, thank you." She disappeared into the building. Ethan got back in the car, started the engine. But he sat there for a minute, thinking about the weight of her in his arms, the surprised look in her eyes, the way she'd said his name just now, like she actually saw him. He drove back to the hotel, parked in the employee garage under the building, the same garage where he'd worked as a mechanic 2 years ago, before the steady driving job opened up, before he needed reliable pay to help his sister Lily. The garage smelled like oil and rubber. Familiar smells. Good smells. Sometimes he missed working on engines, getting his hands dirty, fixing things that were broken, but driving paid better. And Lily needed help with her little boy. Daycare costs, doctor bills, all the things that came with being a single mom. Ethan wiped the rain from his jacket, hung it on a hook by his locker, checked his phone. A text from Lily. "Thanks for watching Tommy tomorrow. You're the best big brother ever." He smiled, typed back. "Anytime. Love you guys." His alarm was already set for 5 a.m. He liked to get to work early, check the car, make sure everything was perfect. Ms. Lewis deserved that much. She deserved more than that, if he was honest. She worked harder than anyone he knew, 12-hour days, always professional, always thinking about the business. But she seemed lonely. Behind all that success and control, there was something sad in her eyes, like she was carrying the world on her shoulders. Ethan shook his head. Not his business. His job was to drive, to stay invisible, to be useful without getting in the way. He gathered his things and headed for the exit. Tomorrow would be another day, another chance to do his job right, to stay in the background where he belonged. But as he walked through the garage, he could still feel the echo of Amara's weight against his side. Still see the surprise in her eyes when she looked up at him. For just a moment, he'd been more than background. He'd been the man who kept her safe. And despite everything he told himself about staying invisible, that felt good. The next morning came early. Ethan's alarm buzzed at 5 a.m. He was already awake, had been for 20 minutes. Staring at the ceiling of his small apartment, he made coffee. Black, no sugar. Checked the weather on his phone, clear skies. Good. He liked driving when he could see everything clearly. By 6 a.m. he was at the hotel. The parking garage was quiet, just a few cars from the night shift workers. Ethan unlocked the sedan, walked around it slowly, checking the tires, the lights, the mirrors, everything perfect. He drove to Amara's building, parked outside at exactly 6:30. She came out 5 minutes later, right on time. She always was. But today was different. Instead of getting straight into the back seat, she stopped by his window. He rolled it down. "Good morning, Ethan." "Morning, Ms. Lewis. Coffee?" He held up the extra cup he'd bought from the lobby. She looked surprised. You brought me coffee? 2 cream, 1 sugar, the way you order it at meetings. She took the cup. Their fingers brushed for a second. Thank you, that's very thoughtful. He got out and opened her door, but instead of staying quiet like usual, she spoke as they drove to the first hotel. About yesterday, she said. When that man fell, you moved very fast. Reflex, I guess. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. You said you used to be a mechanic before this job. Yes, ma'am. At your hotel garage, actually. 2 years ago. Why did you switch to driving? Ethan paused. Most bosses didn't ask personal questions. They didn't want to know about their workers' lives. More steady pay, he said finally. My sister needed help. She's raising her son alone. What's his name, your nephew? Tommy, he's 4. Smart kid. Loves cars almost as much as I do. In the mirror, he saw her smile. A real smile, not the polite one she used in business meetings. 4 is a fun age. Everything's exciting. You have kids, Ms. Lewis? The smile faded a little. No time for a family yet. Too much work to do. They pulled up to the first hotel, a smaller property than the flagship downtown, but still elegant, still expensive. Amara had meetings all morning about the anniversary celebration next week. I'll be about 2 hours, she said as she got out. I'll be right here. While she was inside, Ethan's phone rang. Lily. Hey, big brother, bad news about tomorrow. Tommy's daycare is closing early, teacher training day. Can you still watch him? Of course. What time? 2 o'clock pickup. I know you're working, but I'll make it work. Don't worry. You're amazing. I don't know what we'd do without you. Family helps family. That's what Dad always said. I love you, Ethan. Love you too. He hung up and stared at the hotel entrance. Tomorrow he'd need to ask Ms. Lewis for a few hours off. She might say no. Important people didn't always understand about family emergencies, but he'd figure it out. He always did. 2 hours. Later, Amara came back to the car. She looked tired. Business meetings could drain anyone, even someone as strong as her. How did it go? He asked as they drove to the next hotel. Fine. Anniversary week planning. We're expecting over 300 guests. VIP events every night. It's a lot to coordinate. Sounds like a big deal. The biggest event we've done all year. Everything has to be perfect. My mother has been planning this for months. There was something in her voice. Stress. Pressure. Like she was carrying weight that belonged to other people too. You'll pull it off, Ethan said. You're good at what you do. She looked at him in the mirror. How do you know that? I listen to your phone calls, not on purpose, but I hear you solving problems, making decisions. You don't panic. You just fix things. Thank you. That means more than you know. They drove in comfortable quiet for a while. Then Amara spoke again. What does your nephew like to do besides cars? Puzzles, building blocks. He wants to be an engineer when he grows up, build bridges. Smart boy. Gets it from his mom. Lily's the smartest person I know. She's a nurse, works nights at the children's hospital. That's why you help with childcare. Someone has to. Tommy needs family around, stability. They reached the second hotel. Amara got out, then turned back. Ethan, if you ever need time off for family things, just ask. I understand about family. He felt something warm in his chest, relief, gratitude. Thank you, Ms. Lewis, that means a lot. It's Amara. When we're alone like this, you can call me Amara. She walked into the hotel before he could respond, but he sat in the driver's seat, thinking about the way she'd said her name. Soft, personal, like she was sharing something private with him, like maybe he wasn't just background after all. The morning passed quickly. 3 more stops. Each time Amara seemed more relaxed, more willing to talk. She asked about his family, about his time as a mechanic, about the books he read while waiting for her during meetings. By noon, they were heading back to the flagship hotel. Amara had lunch meetings, then more anniversary planning, a full afternoon ahead. I'll probably be until 5, she said as they pulled up to the hotel. I'll be here. She started to get out, then stopped. Ethan, thank you for the coffee and for listening. It's nice to have someone to talk to who doesn't want anything from me. Everyone wants something? Usually. Business deals, introductions to my family, access to money or connections. It gets tiresome. I just want to do a good job for you, she smiled, that real smile again. I know. That's what makes you different. She walked toward the hotel entrance, but she didn't hurry like usual. Her steps were slower, calmer, like she wasn't rushing toward the next problem to solve. Ethan drove to the parking garage. He had a few hours to himself. Usually he read, or called Lily. Sometimes he helped the mechanics when they were busy. But today he walked through the hotel's service corridors. He wanted to see the anniversary preparations up close. Maybe understand better what Amara was working so hard to make perfect. The service hallways were busy, staff rushing everywhere, flowers being delivered, tables being moved. Everyone focused on making the next week special for the VIP guests. As he walked past a meeting room, he heard voices. Diane Lewis and Marcus Hale, the banker who'd been texting Amara. She needs to make a decision about us, Marcus was saying. This anniversary week is perfect timing. All the right people will be watching. Amara is focused on business right now, Diane replied. Give her time. Time for what? She's 28. Successful. We'd be good together. Good for both our careers. I agree, but pushing won't help. She doesn't like pressure. What about her driver situation? I've seen how she talks to that man. Very friendly. Diane's voice turned sharp. Ethan is professional, nothing more. Drivers are interchangeable, Marcus. Don't read into polite conversation. Ethan stopped walking. Interchangeable. That word hit him like a fist in the stomach. He'd thought this morning meant something. The coffee, the questions about his family, the way she'd told him to call her Amara. But maybe Diane was right. Maybe he was just reading too much into polite conversation. Maybe that's all it was for someone like Amara Lewis, being nice to the help. Marcus laughed. Good, because the last thing she needs is some driver getting ideas above his station. Amara has better sense than that. She knows what kind of man she needs, someone from her world, someone who understands business and society. Someone like me, exactly like you. Their voices faded as they walked away. Ethan stood alone in the corridor. His chest felt tight. His hands were clenched into fists, interchangeable. He walked back to the parking garage, sat in the sedan, stared at the concrete wall in front of him. Of course, that's how they saw him, how they all saw him. He was hired help, useful, professional, but replaceable at any moment. The conversation this morning hadn't meant anything. It was just Amara being polite, maybe feeling guilty about how her mother treated the staff. A little kindness to smooth things over. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. Can't wait for you to meet Tommy's new teacher tomorrow. She seems really nice. Ethan smiled despite everything. At least with his family he mattered. He wasn't interchangeable there. He was Uncle Ethan, the man who fixed things and gave hugs and read bedtime stories. That was enough. It had to be. He checked his watch. 3:30. An hour and a half until Amara needed the car. He'd use the time to clean it again. Make sure everything was perfect. Because that's what interchangeable drivers did. They kept their cars clean and their mouths shut and their expectations low. And maybe, if he was lucky, rich people like Amara Lewis would keep being polite to them, even if it didn't mean anything at all. That evening, the Lewis Hotel buzzed with energy. The investor cocktail party was in full swing. Important people filled the side salon, men in expensive suits, women wearing jewelry that cost more than most people's cars. Ethan stood by the service entrance, close enough to respond if Amara needed the car, far enough away to stay invisible, just like always. Through the glass doors, he could see the party. Amara moved through the crowd like she was born for it, graceful, confident. She wore a black dress that made her look like royalty. Marcus Hale stayed close to her side, too close. His hand touched her arm when he talked. His smile was too wide, too eager. Ethan tried not to watch, but it was hard to look away. Your shadow's very quiet tonight, Marcus said to Amara. His voice carried through the doors. Amara glanced toward where Ethan stood. He's professional. That's his job. Professional, Marcus laughed. Is that what we're calling it? I don't know what you mean. Come on, Amara. The way you look at him, talk to him. It's very friendly. Amara's voice turned cold. I treat all our staff with respect, Marcus. You should try it. Before Marcus could respond, There was a small crisis by the gift table. A ribbon had come loose from an expensive arrangement. The presentation looked messy, unprofessional. Amara started toward the problem, but Ethan was already moving. He'd been watching the party through the glass. Saw the ribbon fall. He slipped through the service door, fixed the ribbon in 30 seconds. His movements were quick and quiet. Nobody noticed except Amara. She nodded at him. A small thank you. He melted back toward the door, but Marcus had noticed too. "Useful hands," he said with a smirk. "Very well trained." The words hit Ethan like a slap. Useful hands, like he was a tool, a thing instead of a person. He kept walking, kept his face blank, but his jaw was tight. Later, during a quiet moment, Ethan heard Diane talking to one of the investors, an older woman with diamond earrings and a sharp voice. "Your daughter is lovely," the woman said. "When will she settle down? Find a proper husband?" "Soon, I hope," Diane replied. "She has excellent options. She just needs to choose wisely." Wise choices are important, especially for someone in her position. Exactly. She'll pick a proper match, someone who understands her world, her responsibilities. The words echoed what Ethan had heard earlier. Proper match. Someone from her world. Someone who wasn't him. Near the main entrance, Jem Alvarez straightened his tie. He'd been watching Ethan all evening, saw how the man stayed calm even when Marcus made his ugly comments. Jem had worked here long enough to know character when he saw it. Ethan had it. Marcus didn't. Behind Jem, 2 junior staff members whispered about Amara. "She's so cold," one said. "Never dates anyone, never seems happy." "Maybe she's just picky," the other replied. "Hard to find someone good enough for a Lewis. Or maybe she's scared. Rich people have trust issues." Jem frowned. They didn't know what they were talking about. Ms. Lewis wasn't cold. She was careful. There was a difference. The party wound down around 10 o'clock. Guests said their goodbyes, made plans for the next events during anniversary week. Ethan brought the car to the front entrance, waited while Amara finished her conversations. Marcus walked her to the car. "Think about what I said," he told her. "We'd be good together, for business and other things." "I'll think about it," Amara replied. But her voice was tired, like she'd said those words too many times. Marcus leaned down to kiss her cheek. She turned her head slightly. Let him brush her temple instead. Ethan pretended not to see. Opened her door, kept his eyes on the sidewalk. "Thank you, Ethan," she said as she got in. "Of course, Miss Lewis." They drove to her condo in silence, but it wasn't the comfortable quiet from earlier. This felt heavy, sad. When they arrived, Amara didn't get out right away. She sat in the back seat, staring out the window. "Long day," Ethan said finally. "Very long." She paused. "Thank you for fixing the ribbon tonight. I saw what you did." "Just helping out." "You're always helping. Always watching out for problems before they happen. I appreciate that." Ethan wanted to say more, wanted to tell her that watching out for her wasn't just his job. It was becoming something else, something deeper. But Marcus's words echoed in his head. Useful hands, very well trained, and Diane's voice. Drivers are interchangeable. "Just doing my job, ma'am," he said instead. Something flickered in her eyes. Disappointment, maybe. But she just nodded and got out of the car. Ethan drove back to the hotel garage, parked the sedan, sat in the driver's seat for a long time. Tomorrow he'd pick up Tommy from daycare. Spend the afternoon with a 4-year-old who thought Uncle Ethan was the best person in the world, who didn't care about money or status or proper matches. That was real. That mattered. This thing with Amara, whatever it was or wasn't, was just in his head. A fantasy about a world where chauffeurs and heiresses could be more than professional. He needed to remember his place, stay in his lane, be useful, be invisible, be interchangeable, even if it was starting to hurt more than he wanted to admit. The third day of anniversary week arrived with gray skies and tension in the air. Ethan picked up Amara at the usual time, but she seemed different, distracted. She barely said good morning. They drove to the hotel in silence. When they arrived, Amara went straight to her meetings. Ethan parked in the garage and tried to read, but his mind kept wandering. Around noon, his phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Pickup went great. Tommy loves his new teacher. Thanks for everything yesterday." Ethan smiled. Yesterday afternoon with Tommy had been perfect. They'd built a bridge out of blocks, read 3 books about trucks, had ice cream for dinner because Tommy asked so nicely. Simple things, real things, that's what mattered. At 5 o'clock, there was a private family dinner before tonight's investor reception. Amara had asked Ethan to wait nearby, just in case. The dinner was in a private suite on the top floor. Ethan stood in the hallway outside. He could hear voices through the doors. Diane, Marcus, Amara, and a man with a kind voice he didn't recognize. That would be Uncle Reggie, Amara's father's brother. Ethan had heard about him but never met him. Reggie lived quietly, helped with the hotels when needed, but mostly stayed out of the business drama. The conversation inside seemed friendly at first. Talk about the anniversary events, plans for next week, normal family dinner stuff. Then, Marcus's voice got louder. I'm tired of waiting, Amara. This week is perfect for us to make things official. Everyone important is here. They're all watching. Marcus, please, not now. Amara sounded stressed. When, then? We've been dancing around this for months. You know we make sense together. Making sense isn't the same as being right. What's that supposed to mean? Diane jumped in. Marcus is right, honey. You need to think about your future, the family's future. I think about it every day, Mother. Then you know what the right choice is. Marcus's voice turned mean. Unless you're distracted by something else. Someone else. What do you mean? But Amara's voice was careful, like she knew exactly what he meant. Your silent shadow, your pet driver, the way you look at him is interesting. Ethan's stomach dropped. He should walk away. This wasn't meant for him to hear, but he couldn't move. Ethan is my employee, nothing more. Good. Because for a minute there, I thought you might be losing perspective, forgetting who you are. The kindly voice, Uncle Reggie, spoke up. That's enough, Marcus. I'm just looking out for her interests. No, you're being cruel and unnecessary. Marcus laughed. It was an ugly sound. Cruel? I'm being realistic. People like that driver, they're invisible for a reason. Background help. They don't matter in the real world. That's when something inside Amara snapped. Stop! Her voice was sharp, final. Don't talk about him like that. Like what? Like he's exactly what he is? Like he doesn't matter, like he's not a person with feelings and dignity. Amara. Diane's voice held a warning, but Amara wasn't backing down. Ethan is a good man, a decent man. He matters to me more than you realize. The room went silent. Ethan could hear his own heartbeat. Diane spoke first. Amara, you're upset. We'll talk about this later. I'm not upset. I'm tired. Tired of people thinking money is the only thing that matters. Tired of pretending that kindness doesn't count. Marcus's voice was ice cold. Are you seriously defending your driver over your family? Over me? I'm defending basic human decency. This is ridiculous. We're talking about the help. We're talking about a man who treats people with respect, who works hard, who doesn't think he's better than everyone else just because he has money. Uncle Reggie's voice was gentle. Maybe we should change the subject. But Marcus wasn't done. Fine. Let's be clear about something, Amara. Choose carefully, because I won't compete with fantasy. And that's all this is, a fantasy about playing house with the hired help. Chairs scraped. People were getting up. The dinner was over. Ethan stepped back from the door, moved down the hallway. His hands were shaking. His chest felt tight. She'd defended him, actually stood up for him against her own family, against Marcus. But Marcus was right about one thing. It was a fantasy. Rich heiresses didn't choose chauffeurs, not in the real world. The suite door opened. Diane came out first. Her face was stone. She walked past Ethan like he was invisible. Uncle Reggie followed. He was an older black man with kind eyes and a cane. He nodded at Ethan, a small acknowledgement, person to person. Then came Marcus and Amara. They were talking in low, tense voices. This conversation isn't over, Marcus said. Yes, it is. You're making a mistake, Amara, a big one. That's my choice to make. Marcus grabbed her arm. Our future. There is no our future. Not anymore. Marcus's face turned red. You're throwing away everything we could have together. For what? For him? Ethan stepped forward. He couldn't help himself. Excuse me. Ms. Lewis, is everything all right? Marcus whirled around. This is a private conversation. I know. I just wanted to offer privacy. I can wait downstairs if you need space to talk. Amara looked at Ethan, really looked at him, like she was seeing him fresh. Thank you. That's very thoughtful. Marcus laughed, the same ugly sound from the dinner. Thoughtful. Right. I'm sure he's just thinking of your comfort. Something dangerous flashed in Amara's eyes. What exactly are you saying, Marcus? I'm saying men like him always have angles, always looking for their next opportunity. Ethan's jaw clenched, but he kept his voice calm. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'll wait by the elevator. He started to walk away, but Marcus wasn't finished. That's right. Walk away. Back to the shadows where you belong. Ethan stopped, turned around. I'm sorry? You heard me. Silent shadow, invisible help, that's all you are. That's all you'll ever be. The words hung in the air like poison. Ethan felt his face burn, but he kept his composure. You're right, he said quietly. I am help. I work for a living. I'm proud of that. Marcus smirked. Proud of knowing your place? Good. Remember it. That's when Amara exploded. Enough! Her voice echoed off the hallway walls. I will not stand here and let you humiliate a good man. Amara, no, Marcus, you've gone too far. Ethan has more class in his little finger than you have in your entire body. Marcus's smirk faded. Are you seriously choosing him over me? I'm choosing decency over cruelty, respect over arrogance. This is insane. He's nothing, nobody. Amara stepped closer to Marcus. Her voice was steel. He's more of a man than you'll ever be. She turned to Ethan. Her eyes were bright with anger and something else, something that made his heart race. I'm sorry you had to hear that, Ethan. You deserve better. It's okay, Ms. Lewis, really. No, it's not okay, and it's going to stop right now. She looked back at Marcus. We're done, completely done. Don't call me, don't text me, don't come to any more family events. Marcus's face went white, then red. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Marcus looked between Amara and Ethan. His eyes were full of hate. You think this is over? You think people won't talk? The scandal alone will destroy you. Let them talk. Your mother will never accept this. My mother will learn to respect my choices, or she won't. Either way, I'm done letting other people control my life. Marcus stormed toward the elevator, but he turned back one last time. This won't end well, Amara, for either of you. The elevator doors closed behind him. The hallway fell silent. Amara and Ethan stood alone. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Finally, Ethan found his voice. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. He was right about one thing. People will talk. Let them. It could hurt your business, your reputation. She looked at him then, really looked at him. What kind of person would I be if I let someone talk to you that way? If I just stood there and said nothing? A smart one, a practical one. I don't want to be practical anymore. I want to be decent. Ethan felt something shift inside his chest, something warm and terrifying and wonderful. Thank you, he said. That means everything to me. It should. You're worth defending, Ethan Cole. She said his full name like it mattered, like he mattered. And for the first time in 3 months, Ethan let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't invisible after all. The tension from the family dinner followed them downstairs. Amara walked fast. Her heels clicked sharp on the marble floors. Ethan stayed a respectful distance behind. They were heading toward the service elevator. The main elevators were too public, too many staff members around, too many chances for whispers. But Marcus had followed them down. His face was still red with anger. His expensive suit looked wrinkled now, messed up by his own rage. Amara, wait! His voice echoed in the hallway. She didn't turn around. I have nothing more to say to you. Fine, but I have something to say to him. Marcus pointed at Ethan. Ethan stopped walking. Sir? You think you've won something? You think this changes anything? I don't know what you mean. Marcus stepped closer. His voice was low and mean. You're still the help, still nobody. And deep down, she knows it. Amara spun around. Marcus, stop. She's defending you now because she's angry at me. But when the anger fades, reality will set in. She'll remember who she is and who you are. Ethan felt each word like a physical blow, because part of him, a big part, believed Marcus was right. "That's enough," Amara said, but Marcus wasn't done. "You want to know what reality looks like? Board meetings, society events, business deals worth millions. You think you fit into that world?" "Marcus, do you even own a tuxedo? Have you ever been to the opera? Do you know which fork to use at a 7-course dinner?" Each question hit harder than the last. Ethan's hands clenched into fists at his sides. "I know how to treat people with respect," Ethan said quietly. "I know how to work hard. I know how to keep my word." Marcus laughed. "Boy Scout virtues. How charming. But they don't pay for penthouses or private jets or the kind of life she's used to. Money isn't everything. Easy to say when you don't have any." That's when staff members started to notice. Jem was at his post near the main doors. A junior concierge was walking by with paperwork. A few housekeeping staff were in the hallway. All of them were trying not to stare, but they were listening, watching. Amara saw them too. Her face went pale. This was exactly what she'd been trying to avoid. Public drama, gossip, people talking about her personal life, but Marcus kept pushing. Look around, driver. They're all watching now. Watching you embarrass yourself. Watching her make a fool of herself over the help." Ethan started to back away. This was spiraling out of control. "I should go." "Yes, you should. Back to your little apartment. Back to your real life. Leave this fantasy behind before you get hurt." Something inside Amara snapped. She was tired of hiding, tired of pretending, tired of letting people like Marcus think they could decide what her life should look like. She walked over to Ethan, looked him straight in the eyes, then did something that shocked everyone in the hallway. She took his arm, linked it with hers, like they were together, like they belonged together. "You don't get to speak about him like that," she said to Marcus. Her voice was clear, strong, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Amara, what are you doing?" She looked at the staff members who were watching, at Jem by the door, at the concierge with his clipboard, at everyone who had ears and would spread this story by morning. Then she said the 3 words that changed everything. "He's my love." The hallway went, dead silent. Nobody moved, nobody breathed. Ethan felt his world tilt. She'd called him her love, in public, in front of witnesses, in front of people who would remember every word. Marcus's mouth fell open. "What did you just say?" "You heard me." Amara's grip on Ethan's arm tightened. "He's my love, and I won't stand here and let you insult him. Are you insane? Do you know what you've just done? I've told the truth." "The truth? You barely know him." "I know enough. I know he's kind. I know he's honest. I know he treats me like a person instead of a prize to be won." Marcus looked around at the staff, at the witnesses to this moment. "This is career suicide, for both of you." "Maybe, but it's my choice to make." He turned to Ethan. "Are you going to say something? Or just stand there?" Ethan's throat felt tight. His heart was pounding so hard he was sure everyone could hear it. This was happening too fast, too public, too real. He started, then stopped. What could he say? That he felt the same way. That would make it real. That would mean stepping into her world for good, facing the judgment and the whispers and the problems that would come. But if he said nothing, if he stayed silent, it would look like she was lying, like she was just using him to hurt Marcus. Either way, everything would change. "I respect Ms. Lewis," he said finally. "She's a good person. She deserves to be treated with kindness." It wasn't an answer, not really, but it was the truth. Amara looked at him. Something flashed in her eyes. Disappointment, maybe, or understanding. Marcus seized on Ethan's careful words. "See? He won't even say it back. This is all in your head, Amara." "No, it's not." "Then prove it. Make him say it. Make him claim you in front of everyone." The challenge hung in the air, cruel and public and impossible to ignore. Amara let go of Ethan's arm, stepped back. "He doesn't have to prove anything, neither do I." But the damage was done. The words were out there. The staff had heard everything. By tomorrow, the whole hotel would know. By next week, the whole city would be talking. Jem cleared his throat. "Excuse me, should I call the car?" His question broke the spell. People started moving again. The concierge hurried away with his paperwork. The housekeeping staff scattered. Marcus straightened his tie. This isn't over, Amara. When you come to your senses, don't expect me to be waiting. He walked toward the main exit, but he paused at the door. You've made your bed, both of you. Now you'll have to lie in it. Then he was gone. Amara and Ethan stood alone in the hallway. The silence was heavy, awkward. We should go, Amara said finally. Yes, ma'am. They walked to the parking garage without speaking. Ethan opened her car door. She got in without looking at him. The drive to her condo was the longest 15 minutes of Ethan's life. He wanted to say something, anything, but what? Thank you for defending me? Why did you say that? Did you mean it? All the questions stuck in his throat. When they reached her building, Amara didn't get out right away. She sat in the back seat staring at her hands. I need to explain, she said. You don't owe me any explanations. Yes, I do. What I said back there, it wasn't planned. I was angry, frustrated, tired of Marcus treating you like you don't matter. Ethan nodded. I understand. Do you? Because I need you to know. It wasn't just to shut him up. I meant it. At least, I think I meant it. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Ms. Lewis, Amara, please. Just Amara. He turned around to face her. Amara, what you said, it changes things. I know. People will talk. They'll assume things, make up stories. I know. It could hurt your reputation, your business. I know that too. They looked at each other through the space between the front and back seats, two people from different worlds trying to figure out what came next. I won't be anyone's prop, Ethan said quietly. I won't be used to make a point or hurt someone else. That's not what this is, isn't it? You were angry. Marcus was pushing. You needed to push back. Maybe that's how it started. But when I said those words, when I called you my love, it felt true. Ethan's heart did something complicated in his chest. Felt true isn't the same as being true. No, it's not. She opened the car door. But maybe it's a start. She got out and walked toward her building. At the entrance, she turned back. Whatever happens next, I don't regret what I said. You should know that. Then, she disappeared inside. Ethan sat in the empty car for a long time. The parking garage was quiet, just him and his thoughts and the echo of 3 impossible words. He's my love. Tomorrow those words would spread through the hotel like wildfire. By next week, everyone in the city would be talking about the Heiress and her chauffeur. His quiet life was over. His invisible days were done. The question now was whether he was brave enough to step into the light, or smart enough to walk away before everything exploded. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She sat by her floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city lights. Her phone buzzed every few minutes. Text messages, missed calls, the word was already spreading. At 11:30, her mother called. Amara, we need to talk now. It's late, Mother. It's urgent. I've been getting calls all evening. Staff members, board members, people are talking. Amara closed her eyes. What are they saying? You know exactly what they're saying. That you've lost your mind. That you're having some kind of breakdown. I'm not having a breakdown. Then explain to me what happened tonight. Because right now, it looks like you've thrown away everything we've worked for. Amara stood up, started pacing. I stood up for someone who didn't, deserved to be humiliated. That's what happened. By calling him your love in front of witnesses? Yes. Amara, listen to me. If you care about this man, if you really care about him, you'll protect him from what's coming. What do you mean? The gossip, the attention, the judgment. Do you think he's ready for that? Do you think he wants his life turned upside down? That made Amara pause. She hadn't thought about it from Ethan's perspective, what this meant for his quiet life, his family. I was protecting him tonight. No, you were reacting. There's a difference. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Marcus. Fix this or I walk away permanently. Your choice. Amara stared at the message, then deleted it without replying. Are you listening to me? Diane's voice was sharp through the phone. I'm here. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about the family, the business, everything we've built. I know that. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're willing to risk it all for a man you barely know. I know enough. You know what he shows you at work. That's not the same thing. Before Amara could respond, another call came in. Uncle Reggie. I have to go, Mother. Uncle Reggie is calling. We're not done talking about this. Yes, we are. For tonight. She hung up and answered Reggie's call. Hello, Uncle. Evening, sweetheart. How are you holding up? His voice was gentle, kind, so different from her mother's sharp worry. I've been better. I suppose you heard what happened. I was there, remember? Saw the whole thing. And what do you think? Am I crazy like everyone else says? Reggie was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Do you want him? Or do you want the quiet of everyone's approval? The question hit her like a gentle slap. What do you mean? I mean, are you fighting for something real? Or are you just tired of being told what to do? Amara sank into her chair. I don't know. Maybe both. That's honest. But if you're going to put both your lives through what's coming, you better figure it out soon. What's coming? Questions, gossip, people picking sides. It gets ugly fast when money and reputation are involved. I can handle ugly. Can he? Another question she couldn't answer. I should call him, make sure he's okay. That might be wise. Good night, sweetheart. Good night, Uncle. Amara hung up and stared at her phone. Ethan's number was right there. She could call him. They could talk about what happened, figure out what came next. But it was almost midnight. He was probably asleep. He had to work tomorrow. Drive her around like nothing had changed. Except everything had changed. Across the city, Ethan was wide awake too. He sat at his small kitchen table, nursing a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. His phone was face down on the table. He hadn't looked at it since he got home. Hadn't wanted to see if there were messages, calls, signs that his quiet life was already falling apart. Around 11:40, he heard footsteps on the stairs outside, a gentle knock on his door. Ethan, it's me. Lily's voice was soft, worried. He opened the door. His sister stood there in scrubs, her nurse uniform wrinkled from a long shift, but her eyes were alert, concerned. Hey, shouldn't you be asleep? You just worked 12 hours. Couldn't sleep. Tommy's with Mrs. Peterson. I saw your light on. She stepped inside and looked at him closely. You look like you've seen a ghost. Something like that. Want to talk about it? Ethan rubbed his face. I don't even know where to start. Start anywhere. I've got time. They sat at the table. Ethan told her everything. The fight with Marcus, Amara's defense of him, the 3 words that changed everything. She called me her love, he said finally. In front of everyone. Lily's eyebrows went up. Wow. Yeah, wow. How do you feel about that? Terrified, confused, happy, angry, everything at once. Why angry? Because she didn't ask me first. She just decided. Made this huge announcement that affects both our lives. But you care about her. It wasn't a question. Lily knew him too well. Yeah, I do, more than I should. Why more than you should? Come on, Lily, look at the situation. She's rich. I'm poor. She's educated. I barely finished high school. She owns hotels. I drive cars. So we live in different worlds. This thing, whatever it is, it can't work. Lily reached across and took his hand. Can I tell you something? What? You're scared. I get that. But don't use all those differences as an excuse to walk away from something good. It's not an excuse. It's reality. Is it? Because from what you just told me, she stood up for you. She defended you. She claimed you in public. She was angry. People say things when they're angry. Maybe. Or maybe she finally said what she's been feeling for months. Ethan pulled his hand away. It doesn't matter what she feels. Or what I feel. The world won't accept it. Since when do you care what the world thinks? Since it affects you and Tommy. Since people will start asking questions, making assumptions. About what? About why I'm really working for her. What I'm getting out of it. Whether I'm using her for money. Lily was quiet for a moment. Is that what you're worried about? What people think of your motives? Partly. And the other part? The other part is scared that they're right. That I'm just a guy who got lucky, who's in over his head. Lily leaned forward. Ethan, look at me. He met her eyes, brown like his own, steady and sure. You're a good man. You work hard. You take care of your family. You treat people with respect. Any woman would be lucky to have you. Even a millionaire heiress? Especially a millionaire heiress, they probably don't meet many genuine people. Ethan smiled despite everything. When did you get so wise? Single motherhood. It ages you fast. She stood up. I should go, but Ethan? Yeah? Whatever you decide, make sure it's what you want, not what you think other people expect. After she left, Ethan sat alone in his quiet apartment. The coffee was stone cold now. The night was almost over. In a few hours, he'd have to see Amara again, drive her to meetings, pretend everything was normal. But normal was gone. Those 3 words had burned it away. The question now was what would rise from the ashes. The next morning felt different. Ethan arrived at the hotel at his usual time, but everything had changed. The way security nodded at him, the curious looks from staff in the lobby. Word had spread fast. He checked the sedan twice, everything perfect as always, but his hands shook slightly as he adjusted the mirrors. At 6:30, he pulled up to Amara's building. She came out exactly on time, but she looked tired, like she hadn't slept either. Good morning, she said as she got in the car. Morning. He couldn't bring himself to say, Ms. Lewis. Not after last night, but Amara felt too intimate for the bright light of day. They drove in silence for several blocks. The tension was thick enough to cut. Finally, Amara spoke. We need to talk. Yes, we do. Not here. Too public. Can you take me to the Riverside property instead? We can talk privately there. The Riverside Hotel was the smallest of the 3 Lewis properties. Quiet. Away from the main business district. It made sense. Of course. The drive took 20 minutes. Neither of them tried to fill the silence. Both lost in their own thoughts. The Riverside Hotel sat on a bluff overlooking the water. Elegant but understated. Amara led him to a private conference room on the 2nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the ocean stretching to the horizon. She closed the door and turned to face him. I owe you an apology, she said. For what? For putting you in that position last night, for speaking for you without asking how you felt. Ethan leaned against the window. You were angry, I understand. I was angry, but that's not why I said what I said. Then why? She walked to the other side of the room, put space between them. Because I meant it. At least, I think I did. You think? I've never felt this way before, about anyone, so I'm not sure I recognize it. Her honesty was like a punch to the chest. Amara, let me finish, please. He nodded. I know this is complicated. I know there will be gossip, problems, people questioning our motives. That's an understatement. But I also know that I'm tired of pretending, tired of being careful about everything, tired of living my life according to other people's expectations. She turned to look at him. So here's what I propose. We don't deny it, but we don't exploit it either. We see where this goes, whatever this is, on our terms. Our terms? Honest, private when we need to be, but not hiding if it becomes real. Ethan considered this. It sounded reasonable in theory, but theory and reality were different things. What if it doesn't work? What if we try this and it falls apart? Then at least we'll know we tried, that we were honest with each other. And if it does work, what then? You really think your family will accept me? I think my family will have to learn to accept my choices. All of them. Ethan walked over to the window, looked out at the ocean. I have conditions. Okay. First, honesty. Complete honesty. If you're having doubts, you tell me. If the pressure gets too much, you tell me. Agreed. Second, no using me as a shield. If you're angry at Marcus or your mother or anyone else, don't use me to make a point. Fair. Third, if this becomes real, if we both decide it's real, then no hiding. I won't be someone's secret. I won't be kept in private while you live your public life. Amara was quiet for a long moment. That's a big ask. It's non-negotiable. Even if it means losing everything else, family support, business relationships. Especially then, I won't be with someone who's ashamed of me. She met his eyes. I'm not ashamed of you. Prove it. How? Time will tell. They shook hands, formal, businesslike, but there was something electric in the touch. So what now? She asked. Now we go back to work. and see what happens. As they drove back to the main hotel, they passed a maintenance area behind the riverside property. One of the hotel vans was pulled over, hood up, steam rising from the engine. "Stop," Ethan said suddenly. "What's wrong?" "That van. I've seen it have problems before. Same issue every few weeks." He pulled over and got out, walked to where the maintenance worker was scratching his head over the engine. "Radiator hose?" Ethan asked. The worker looked up, surprised. "Yeah, third time this month. Can't figure out why it keeps failing." Ethan looked at the engine. "Mind if I take a look?" "Be my guest." It took Ethan 5 minutes to spot the problem. A small piece of metal was rubbing against the hose, creating a weak spot that eventually failed. "Here's your issue," he said, pointing it out. "File this edge down, and you won't have the problem again." The worker grinned. "You're a lifesaver. I'm Joe, by the way." "Ethan, I used to work on cars." "Well, if you ever want to get your hands dirty again, we could use someone who knows what he's doing." Ethan smiled. "I'll keep that in mind." Walking back to the car, he felt lighter somehow, like he'd remembered who he was underneath all the complications. "That was impressive," Amara said as they drove away. "Just knew what to look for." "Is that what you miss, working with your hands?" "Sometimes there's something satisfying about fixing things, making them work better. Maybe you'll get the chance to do more of that." He glanced at her in the mirror. "What do you mean?" "Just thinking out loud." As they neared her building that afternoon, they passed a daycare center. Children were playing in the fenced yard, laughing, running, being kids. "That's where Tommy goes," Ethan said, pointing to a different building down the street. "Your nephew." "Yeah, Lily picks him up most days, but sometimes I do it when she's working late." Just then, a familiar figure emerged from the daycare with a small boy, Lily and Tommy. "Pull over," Amara said suddenly. "What?" "I'd like to meet them, if that's okay." Ethan's heart did something complicated. She wanted to meet his family, the most important people in his life. He parked and got out. "Lily! Tommy!" Tommy broke into a run. "Uncle E!" He launched himself into Ethan's arms. Lily followed, smiling, but her smile faltered when she saw Amara getting out of the back seat. "Lily, I'd like you to meet Amara Lewis. Amara, my sister Lily, and my nephew Tommy." Amara stepped forward with a genuine smile. "It's wonderful to meet you both. Ethan talks about you all the time." Tommy looked up at her with 4-year-old curiosity. "Are you Uncle E's boss?" Amara knelt down to his level. "I am, and he's very good at his job." "He's good at everything. He builds the best block bridges." "I bet he does." Lily watched this exchange with careful eyes. When Amara stood up, she extended her hand. "Nice to meet you, Miss Lewis. Please call me Amara." They talked for a few minutes, normal conversation, but Ethan could see Lily evaluating, measuring, looking for signs of trouble or pretense. She must have found what she was looking for, because her smile became more real, more relaxed. "We should get going," Lily said finally. "Someone has soccer practice." Tommy waved goodbye to Amara. "Bye. Will we see you again?" Amara looked at Ethan, then back at Tommy. "I hope so." As they drove away, Amara was quiet. "Nice family," she said finally. "They're everything to me. I can see why. Your nephew is adorable. And your sister, she's protective." "She has to be. It's been just the two of them for a long time." "What happened to Tommy's father?" "Disappeared when she got pregnant, never looked back." "That's awful." "It is, but Lily's strong. She didn't need him anyway." "Still, it must have been hard." "That's why I help when I can. Family takes care of family." Amara smiled, a soft, real smile. "You're a good man, Ethan Cole." And for the first time all day, he started to believe that maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. That evening, Diane Lewis was hosting a formal dinner for key investors, the kind of event where everything had to be perfect, where image mattered more than food. Ethan was supposed to wait in the lobby, on call if Amara needed the car, background staff, like always. But Amara had other plans. She found him in the lobby at 8 o'clock. He was reading a book, sitting quietly, in a chair by the window. "Ethan?" He looked up. She was wearing a navy blue dress that made her look like royalty. Elegant, untouchable. "Yes? I'd like you to join us for dessert, as my guest." The The words hit him like a physical blow. What? The dinner is almost over. They're serving dessert in 20 minutes. I want you there. Amara, I can't. I don't belong in there. You belong wherever I say you belong. Her voice was firm, final. This wasn't a request. What will people think? I stopped caring what people think, remember? Ethan looked down at his simple black suit. It was clean, professional, but it wasn't designer, wasn't expensive. I'm not dressed for a formal dinner. You look fine, better than fine. Your mother will hate this. My mother will learn to deal with it. She extended her hand. Please, this matters to me. Ethan stared at her hand. This was it, the moment of truth. Take her hand, and there was no going back. Everyone would know where he stood, what he meant to her. Refuse, and he'd be choosing safety over courage, hiding over truth. He took her hand. The private dining room was elegant. Crystal glasses, fine china, flowers that probably cost more than Ethan's monthly rent. 12 people sat around a mahogany table. Investors, board members, people who owned banks and companies and pieces of the city. They all looked up when Amara entered with Ethan. The conversation stopped. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Eyes stared. Diane's face went white, then red, but she kept her voice level. Amara, we weren't expecting... I'd like everyone to meet Ethan Cole, Amara said clearly. Ethan, these are our investors and friends. Polite nods, forced smiles, the kind of acknowledgement rich people gave to staff who were suddenly out of place. Amara guided Ethan to an empty chair, right next to hers, in full view of everyone. The conversation restarted slowly, awkwardly. People kept glancing at Ethan, trying to figure out who he was, why he was there. Uncle Reggie was the first to speak directly to him. So, Ethan, what do you do? Simple question, but loaded with meaning. Everyone at the table was listening for the answer. I drive for Ms. Lewis, and I used to work on cars. Mechanic work? Yes, sir. I like fixing things, understanding how engines work. Reggie's eyes lit up. I had a '67 Mustang when I was young, rebuilt the engine myself. What kind of cars did you work on? And just like that, Ethan relaxed. This he could talk about. Cars, engines, real things that made sense. For 10 minutes, he and Reggie discussed carburetors and transmissions. Ethan's whole face changed when he talked about mechanics. He became animated, passionate, real. Amara watched him with something that might have been pride, but not everyone was charmed. An older woman with diamond earrings leaned toward her dinner partner. Her voice was low, but not quite low enough. Interesting choice, she whispered. Very progressive. Her companion, a man with silver hair and cold eyes, nodded. The Lewis family has always been unconventional. Still, there are appearances to consider. Indeed. Near the door, Jem Alvarez stood at attention. He was working the event, making sure everything ran smoothly. But he could see the other diners whispering, judging. It made him angry. Ethan was worth 10 of these people, but they couldn't see past their own prejudices. As dessert was served, Diane tried to regain control of the situation. So, Ethan, she said with a brittle smile, how are you finding your work with our family? The question was polite on the surface, but underneath, it was a test, a challenge. It's been an honor, Ethan replied. Ms. Lewis is exceptional. Smart, kind, professional. And I'm sure the job pays well. There it was, the suggestion that he was only there for money. It pays fairly, Ethan said carefully, but that's not why I do it. Oh? Then why? Everyone was listening now, waiting for his answer. Because good work matters, because treating people with respect matters, because... He glanced at Amara. Because some things are worth doing well, regardless of pay. A moment of silence, then Reggie started clapping, slow, deliberate. Well said. A few others joined in the applause, not everyone, but enough. As the dinner wound down, people began to leave. Polite goodbyes, careful thank yous. But the whispers had started. Ethan and Amara walked toward the elevator together. That was, he started, awkward, uncomfortable, a disaster? Actually, I was going to say educational, she laughed. A real laugh. How so? I learned that your uncle is a good man, that your mother is protective of you, that some of your investors are snobs, and that you're braver than I thought. Why? Because you brought me in there knowing it would be difficult, knowing people would judge. But you did it anyway. The elevator arrived. They got in together. I have a question for you, Amara said as they descended. What's that? When the time comes, when it really matters, will you stand up for us? For this? Or will you let other people's opinions win? The elevator doors opened. Ethan stepped out, then turned back to look at her. Ask me again when it counts, he said quietly, when there's something real to defend. The doors started to close, but before they did, Amara whispered something that made his heart race. Soon. 8 days later, everything fell apart. It started with a phone call at midnight. Amara's phone buzzed her awake. Unknown number. Ms. Lewis, this is Jenny Martinez from City Gossip Blog. I'm calling about the photo we're publishing tonight. Amara sat up in bed. What photo? You and your chauffeur at the investor reception. Very intimate. Any comment? I have no idea what you're talking about. The picture was taken during the ballroom event. You're dancing. He's looking at you like more than an employee. The headline is going to be, Hotel Heiress and her chauffeur, love or scandal. Amara's blood went cold. Where did you get this photo? Anonymous source, someone who knows you both well. They say he's been working an angle for months, upgrading his life through you. That's ridiculous. Is it? Come from nothing, drive for a millionaire, suddenly she's calling him her love? Sounds like a pretty good plan to me. Amara hung up. Her hands were shaking. Someone had taken pictures, someone close enough to be at private events, someone who wanted to hurt them both. Her phone rang again. This time, it was her mother. Amara, we have a problem. A big one. I know. The blog called me. This is what I was afraid of. Did he know? Did Ethan sell the photo? Of course not. How can you be sure? Money talks, Amara, especially to people who don't have much of it. I'm sure because I know him. Do you? Really? How much do you actually know about his life, his debts, his needs? The questions hit like arrows. Because the truth was, she didn't know everything. They'd been careful, private, still learning about each other. This is exactly what I warned you about, Diane continued. The scandal, the gossip, the assumptions people will make. Mother, I have to go. I need to call Ethan. Be careful what you say. If he did this, he's already planning what to tell you. Amara hung up and immediately called Ethan. It went to voicemail. She tried again. Still nothing. At his apartment, Ethan's phone sat on his kitchen counter, buzzing insistently. But he wasn't there to answer it. He was at the hospital with Lily. Tommy had fallen off his bike and broken his wrist. They'd been in the emergency room for hours. By morning, the story was everywhere. Not just the gossip blog, local news, social media. The photo showed Ethan and Amara at the hotel reception, sharing what looked like an intimate moment. The comments were brutal. Gold digger alert. She's slumming, he's climbing. Tale as old as time. Poor little rich girl thinks she can play with the help. He's using her for money, obvious. When Ethan finally saw his missed calls, his stomach dropped. 7 calls from Amara, 3 from unknown numbers, 2 from the hotel. He called Amara back immediately. Where have you been? Her voice was sharp, stressed. Hospital, Tommy broke his wrist. Why? What's wrong? Have you seen the news? No, what news? She told him about the photo, the blog post, the accusations. Did you tell anyone? She asked when she finished. About us? About what's been happening? The question hit him like a slap. You think I sold you out? I need to ask. People are saying I'm using you for money, that I leaked a story to cash in. Did you? Silence, long and painful. You really think I'd do that? His voice was quiet, hurt. I don't know what to think. This is all happening so fast. I would never hurt you like that. Never. Then who took the picture? Who knew enough details to sell to the press? I don't know, but it wasn't me. Another long pause. I believe you, she said finally. I'm sorry, this is terrifying. I know, it scares me too. What do we do now? I don't know, but we figure it out together, okay? Okay. But as they hung up, both of them knew that everything had changed again. The private thing between them was public now. The quiet exploration was front-page news. And somewhere in the city, Someone was very pleased with the chaos they'd created. Later that day, in the hotel's break room, a young concierge sat staring at his phone. The photo on the gossip blog looked familiar. Very familiar. Because he'd taken it, it had been so easy, just a quick picture during the reception. He'd meant to delete it, but then he'd seen how much gossip blogs paid for exclusive photos. His rent was overdue. His credit cards were maxed. $500 seemed like a lot of money. Now, watching the story spread, seeing the comments get uglier and uglier, he felt sick. This wasn't just a photo anymore. It was two people's lives being torn apart, and it was all his fault. 2 days after the photo leaked, the biggest investor reception of Anniversary Week was about to begin. Amara stood in front of her mirror, adjusting her earrings for the third time. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The scandal had grown worse. More blogs picked up the story. Social media was brutal. The comments got meaner every hour. Some defended her right to choose whoever she wanted, but most were cruel. They called her naive, stupid, said she was being used by a man who saw dollar signs instead of love. The worst part? Some of the comments made her doubt herself. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "Remember what we discussed. Tonight is about the business. Don't let personal drama overshadow everything we've worked for." What they'd discussed was damage control. Amara would attend the reception, be professional. If anyone asked about Ethan, she'd say he was simply a valued employee, nothing more. It was the smart thing to do, the safe thing. So why did it feel like betrayal? Downstairs, Ethan waited in the hotel's service area. He'd been there for an hour, watching staff prepare for the big event. His job was to stay available, be ready if Amara needed him. But he felt like a ghost. Other staff members looked at him differently now, some with pity, some with suspicion, some like he was a curiosity in a zoo. Jem approached him with coffee. "How you holding up?" "Been better." Ethan accepted the cup gratefully. "For what it's worth, I think you're good for her. She's been happier these past few weeks than I've seen her in years." "Thanks. That means a lot." Most of us staff think the whole thing is romantic, like a movie. Ethan almost smiled. "Movies have happy endings. Real life is more complicated." "Maybe, but sometimes real life surprises you." The reception began at 7. Amara moved through the crowd like the professional she was, shaking hands, making small talk, discussing business deals and investment opportunities. But people kept staring, whispering behind their champagne glasses. She could feel their judgment like a weight on her shoulders. Around 8:30, a guest approached her. Mrs. Richardson, one of their biggest investors. "Amara, dear, I've been meaning to ask about that young man of yours." Amara's stomach clenched. "Young man?" "Your driver, the one in all the photos. Such an interesting choice." The word choice was loaded. It meant poor choice, strange choice, wrong choice. "Ethan is a valued member of our team," Amara said carefully. "Of course, very dedicated, I'm sure." More people drifted over, listening, waiting to see what Amara would say. "Is he here tonight?" another guest asked. "I'd love to meet him." The question hung in the air. Everyone knew Ethan was in the building. Everyone knew what they were really asking. Are you going to claim him? Or are you going to pretend this was all a mistake? Amara felt her mother's eyes on her from across the room, felt the weight of expectations, the pressure to protect the family business. "He's working tonight," she said quietly, "on staff duty." The guests nodded, satisfied. She'd put him back in his place, back in the background where he belonged, but from the service doorway, Ethan heard every word. On staff duty, not my partner, not someone important to me, just staff. He'd been hoping, praying, that tonight would be different, that when it mattered most, she'd stand up for them, for what they were building together. Instead, she'd chosen the safe answer, the easy answer, the answer that put him back in the shadows. Ethan turned and walked away from the door, away from the reception, away from the sound of people who would never see him as anything more than hired help. He had a choice to make now: stay and accept being background forever, or finally demand to be seen in the light. The reception ended at 11. Amara said all the right things, smiled at all the right people, made all the right promises about future investments. But inside, she felt hollow. like she'd lost something important that she couldn't get back. As the last guests left, she looked for Ethan. She needed to explain, to tell him why she'd said what she'd said, help him understand the pressure she was under. She found him in the service corridor, but something was wrong. He was too still, too formal. The warmth that had been growing between them was gone. "Ethan," he turned around. In his hand was a white envelope. "Ms. Lewis." His voice was professional, distant. The formal address hit her like ice water. "What's that?" "My resignation." The words sucked all the air from her lungs. "What?" "I'm giving my 2 weeks' notice, effective immediately." "Why? Because of tonight? Because of what I said to Mrs. Richardson?" "Because I won't be kept in private anymore." She stepped closer. "Ethan, let me explain." "You don't need to explain. I understand perfectly. When it mattered, when you had to choose between me and them, you chose them." "It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple. You had a chance to stand up for us, for what we've been building. Instead, you put me back where everyone thinks I belong." "I was protecting you." "No, you were protecting yourself." The accusation hung between them, harsh and probably true. "Those people, they would have destroyed you, torn you apart." "Maybe. But that should have been my choice to make." "Ethan, please, we can work through this." He held out the envelope. "I told you from the beginning. I won't be anyone's secret. I won't be someone you're ashamed to claim in public." "I'm not ashamed of you." "Then why didn't you say so tonight, when everyone was watching, when it would have mattered?" She couldn't answer, because he was right. When the moment came, she'd chosen safety over courage, image over truth. Ethan placed the envelope on a nearby table. "I'll finish out the week, help you find a replacement." "I don't want a replacement. I want you." "No, you don't. You want me to stay invisible, to be there when convenient, but disappear when it gets difficult." "That's not true." "Isn't it? Then prove me wrong." "How?" "Stand up, in public, where everyone can see. Choose me over their approval." Amara felt tears burning her eyes. "It's not that easy." "I know, but some things are worth fighting for. I thought we were. I thought I was." He started to walk away. "Ethan, wait." He stopped but didn't turn around. I need time to think." "Take all the time you need, but I won't be waiting in the shadows anymore." Then he was gone, walking through the hotel corridors toward the exit, toward his life without her. Amara stood alone in the empty hallway. The envelope sat on the table like an accusation. From behind her, a voice spoke. "That could have gone better." She turned. Uncle Reggie stood there, leaning on his cane. His face was sad, but not surprised. "You heard?" "Hard not to. You were both pretty clear." "He doesn't understand the pressure I'm under." "Maybe, or maybe he understands it perfectly. And he's tired of being the price you pay to make other people comfortable." Diane appeared at the end of the hallway. "There you are. How did things go with—" She stopped when she saw the envelope. "What's that?" "Ethan's resignation." A flicker of relief crossed Diane's face. "Well, perhaps that's for the best." Reggie's expression darkened. "For the best?" "She just lost the best thing that's happened to her in years." "Uncle Reggie, no, Diane. I've watched this family choose image over happiness too many times. When does it stop?" "When the family business is secure, when Amara's future is settled with someone appropriate." "Appropriate according to who? You?" "According to reality, according to the world we live in." Reggie turned to Amara. "What do you want? Not what's appropriate, not what's safe. What do you want?" Amara looked at the envelope, at her mother's expectant face, at her uncle's disappointed eyes. "I want to go home," she whispered, but as she walked toward the exit, she realized she wasn't sure where home was anymore. 5 days passed in a blur of gray routine. Amara threw herself into work, property inspections, budget meetings, anything to keep her mind busy. But everywhere she went, she remembered Ethan, the quiet way he opened doors, the careful attention he paid to her schedule, the warm sound of his voice when he asked how her day went. The new driver was professional, punctual, everything a chauffeur should be. He was also a stranger, someone who drove her from place to place without seeing her, without caring if she was happy or sad or tired. Amara found herself missing conversations about Tommy's bridge building, about engines and family and books read while waiting, about all the small, real things that had made her feel human instead of just rich. Across town, Ethan was working at Joe's garage, the same Joe who'd had trouble with the hotel van. It was temporary work. Cash under the table while he figured out what came next. His hands were dirty again, oil under his fingernails, the smell of grease and metal in his clothes. It felt good to fix things, to solve problems with tools instead of words. But in quiet moments, he found himself listening for the sound of heels on concrete, looking up when expensive cars passed by, hoping to catch a glimpse of dark blue dresses and gentle smiles. He was angry, hurt, disappointed. He was also heartbroken. On Thursday evening, Lily stopped by the garage. Tommy was with her, excited to see Uncle Ethan working on real cars instead of just driving them. "How's the pretty lady?" Tommy asked as Ethan wiped his hands on a rag. "What pretty lady?" "The one from the other day. Mama said she's your girlfriend." Ethan glanced at Lily. She shrugged apologetically. "She's not my girlfriend, buddy. She was just someone I worked for. But she was nice, and she liked my bridge story." Yeah, she was nice. Later, after Tommy was distracted by the garage's hydraulic lift, Lily pulled Ethan aside. "You look terrible." "Thanks, really helps the mood." "I'm serious. You're miserable." "I'm fine." "You're angry. There's a difference." Ethan set down his wrench. "What do you want me to say, Lily? That I miss her? That I think about her every day? That I wonder if I made a mistake walking away?" "Did you? Make a mistake?" "I don't know. Maybe. But I couldn't keep being her secret. It was killing me." "So you're better off alone." "I'm better off with people who aren't ashamed to be seen with me." Lily was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" "What?" "If she showed up here tomorrow, if she apologized, if she promised to do better, would you forgive her?" Ethan's heart did something painful in his chest. "It doesn't matter. She won't." "But if she did?" He thought about Amara's laugh, the way she'd looked at Tommy with genuine warmth, the courage it had taken to bring him to that investor dinner. "I'd want to see proof that she meant it, that it wasn't just words." "And if she showed you proof," Ethan met his sister's eyes, "then I'd probably forgive her because you what? Because I love her, even though I shouldn't, even though it's complicated, even though it might not work." Lily smiled. "There it is, the truth. A lot of good it does me now. You might be surprised." Meanwhile, at the hotel, a very guilty junior concierge was having the worst week of his life. Every time he saw the pain on Amara's face, every time he heard staff whispering about the scandal, he felt sicker. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. He went to Jem. "I need to tell you something, about the photo, about who really leaked it." Jem listened to the whole story. When it was over, his face was hard. "You need to tell HR and Ms. Lewis. They deserve to know the truth." "I'll lose my job." "You should lose your job. You destroyed 2 people's happiness for $500. The words hit like physical blows because they were true. "Will you come with me when I tell them?" Jem nodded grimly. "Yeah, I'll come. Someone needs to make sure you tell the whole truth." Saturday morning, Uncle Reggie knocked on Amara's door. She answered in pajamas and a robe. Her hair was messy. Her eyes were red from crying. "You look awful," he said gently. "Thanks, come on in." Her penthouse was perfect as always, everything in its place, everything expensive and beautiful, everything cold. "Coffee?" she offered. "Sure." They sat by the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city spread out below them, rich and powerful and lonely. "Whose life are you living?" Reggie asked suddenly. "What do you mean?" "This life, this apartment, these choices. Are they yours, or are you living someone else's idea of what your life should be?" Amara stared into her coffee. "I don't know anymore." "When was the last time you were truly happy?" The answer came without thinking. 3 weeks ago, in the car with Ethan, talking about his nephew's bridges. And now I feel empty, like I'm going through the motions of being alive instead of actually living." Reggie set down his cup. "I'm going to tell you something your mother won't like." "Okay." "Money doesn't make you happy. Status doesn't make you happy. Other people's approval definitely doesn't make you happy. Then what does? Choosing joy, even when it's scary, even when other people don't understand." Amara felt tears starting. "I was scared. At the reception. Scared of what they'd say, what they'd think. I know. I hurt him. I hurt us. And now it's too late. Is it? He resigned. He's gone. He said he won't be kept in private anymore. So don't keep him in private. What? Stand up in public, where everyone can see. Choose him over everyone else's comfort. What if he won't forgive me? What if he will? What if I lose everything else? The business, my family's support? What if you lose yourself by playing it safe? Amara buried her face in her hands. I don't know how to be brave. Yes, you do. You were brave when you defended him against Marcus. You were brave when you brought him to that investor dinner. And then I lost my nerve when it really mattered. So get it back. Reggie stood to leave. At the door, he turned back. Life is short, sweetheart. Too short to spend it living in fear. Choose joy. Take the consequences like an adult. That same afternoon, Lily confronted Ethan at the garage. She'd left Tommy with a babysitter and driven across town to have this conversation. You're being stubborn, she announced. Ethan looked up from the engine he was working on. Hello to you too. I'm serious. You're letting pride get in the way of happiness. Pride? She humiliated me in front of a room full of people. She made a mistake. People make mistakes when they're scared. Some mistakes are too big to forgive. Are they? Or are you just scared of getting hurt again? Ethan put down his wrench. What do you want me to say, Lily? I want you to say that if she apologizes, really apologizes, you'll give her another chance. Why does this matter so much to you? Because I watched you with her. I saw how you lit up, how happy you were. I was happy, until she threw it all away. What if she wants to fix it? She doesn't. It's been a week. If she wanted to fix things, she would have tried by now. Lily crossed her arms. Maybe she's scared too. Maybe she doesn't know how. Maybe. But I'm not going to wait around hoping. Even if waiting might give you both a chance at real happiness. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. If she shows up, if she really shows up and fights for this, then I'll listen, but she has to prove she means it. And if she does, then maybe we can find our way back to each other, Lily smiled. That's all I wanted to hear. As she drove home, Lily made a decision. If Amara was too scared to make the first move, maybe she needed a little help. Maybe she needed to know that forgiveness was possible. That evening, Amara sat on her balcony, staring at her phone. She'd written a dozen text messages to Ethan, deleted them all. What could she say? I'm sorry I chose safety over love. I'm sorry I was a coward when you needed me to be brave. All true, all inadequate. Text messages weren't enough for this. If she was going to fix what she'd broken, she had to do it in person. She had to be brave, finally. Sunday morning arrived with clear skies and warm sunshine. Amara stood outside Joe's garage wearing jeans and a simple white blouse. No makeup, no jewelry, no armor. Just her. Finally ready to tell the truth. The garage doors were open. She could hear music playing inside. The sound of tools on metal, voices discussing carburetors and timing belts, normal sounds, real sounds, the kind she'd been missing in her perfect, quiet world. She found Ethan under the hood of an old truck. His hands were dirty, his t-shirt had grease stains. He looked more relaxed than she'd seen him in weeks, also more handsome, more himself. Ethan, he looked up. Surprise flashed across his face, then something harder, more guarded. Amara, what are you doing here? I came to apologize. Joe, who'd been working on another car, glanced between them. I'll be in the office if you need anything, he said tactfully. When they were alone, Ethan wiped his hands on a rag. You didn't have to come all the way down here. A phone call would have been fine. No, it wouldn't. This needed to be in person. She looked around the garage, at the tools hanging neatly on pegboards, at the cars in various stages of repair, at the evidence of honest work and skilled hands. You're happy here, she said. It's good work, simple work. I miss you. The words came out without warning, raw and honest. Ethan's jaw tightened. Amara, let me say this, please. I came here to tell you something, and I need to get it out before I lose my nerve. He nodded. You were right, about everything. I was scared at that reception, scared of what people would think, what they'd say. So I took the easy way out. I know. I told myself I was protecting you, but really, I was protecting myself, my image, my comfortable life. I know that too. And I lost the best thing that's ever happened to me because I was too coward to fight for it. Ethan was quiet, waiting. I don't have excuses, just reasons. And the biggest reason is that I was terrified of losing control, of people judging us, of not being good enough for you. Not good enough for me? His voice was incredulous. You're kind, honest, hardworking. You care about family. You treat everyone with respect regardless of their job or status. So? So I'm spoiled, privileged. I've never had to work for anything real, and I've spent my whole life caring what other people think instead of figuring out what I think. An elderly customer shuffled into the garage just then. Her car was making strange noises, she explained to Joe. Could someone take a look? Without thinking, Ethan walked over. Let me listen to that engine, ma'am. He spent 10 minutes diagnosing the problem, explained it in terms she could understand, told her exactly what needed to be fixed and how much it should cost. When another shop down the street tried to overcharge her later, she'd have the knowledge to protect herself. Amara watched the whole interaction, the patience in his voice, the care he took to make sure the woman understood, the way he treated her with dignity, even though she was just a random customer he'd never see again. This was why she loved him, not despite his background, but because of his character. After the woman left, Ethan turned back to Amara. That was beautiful, she said. It was just customer service. No, it was kindness. It's who you are. And I want to be better because of knowing you. Ethan leaned against the workbench. What do you want from me, Amara? Another chance, if you're willing, if you can forgive me. And if I give you that chance, what's different this time? This time, no more hiding. If we do this, if we're together, then we're together publicly, completely, no matter what anyone else thinks. That's easy to say now. But what happens when the next test comes? Then you'll see if I mean it. Ethan studied her face, looking for signs of doubt, of the fear that had controlled her before. What he saw was determination and love, and the courage that had always been there, waiting for her to find it. There's a family luncheon tomorrow, she said. Small group. My mother, Uncle Reggie, a few cousins. I want you there, as my partner, not as staff. Amara, I know it's soon. I know you might say no, but I need to show you and myself that I'm ready to choose us, publicly, no matter what anyone else thinks. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. If I come to this luncheon, it can't be a performance. It can't be something you do to prove a point and then regret later. I won't regret it. How do you know? Because I love you. The words hung in the air between them, simple, true, terrifying. I love you too, he said quietly. That's never been the question. Then what is the question? Whether love is enough, whether we can build something real in the middle of all this drama. Only one way to find out. Ethan smiled then, the first real smile she'd seen from him since the resignation letter. Okay, I'll come to your luncheon. Really? Really. But this is it, Amara. This is the test. If you falter, if you choose their approval over us, I walk away for good. I understand. Do you? Because there won't be another chance after this. She met his eyes. There won't need to be. Monday afternoon. The private dining room at the Lewis Hotel was set for 8 people, family only. Diane had insisted on keeping it small. Less chance for gossip, she'd said. Whatever happens, it stays in the family. The occasion was Cousin Sarah's birthday. Nothing too formal, just a quiet family meal. Except everyone knew this lunch was about much more than birthday cake. Amara arrived first. She wore a simple navy dress, no armor today, no power suit to hide behind. Uncle Reggie came next, moving slowly with his cane but smiling when he saw her. You look nervous, he observed. Terrified is more accurate. Good. Means this matters to you. Diane entered with Cousin Sarah and her husband. The conversation was light at first. Family news, business updates, normal things. But everyone kept glancing at the door. Waiting. At exactly 1 o'clock, Ethan arrived. He wore a neat blazer and dark slacks, not a uniform, not staff clothes, the clothes of a guest, of someone who belonged. The room went quiet when he entered. All conversation stopped. Amara stood up. Her heart was pounding, but her voice was steady. Everyone, I'd like you to meet Ethan Cole. Ethan, this is my family. Polite nods, careful smiles. The kind of greeting rich people gave when they weren't sure what to think. But Amara wasn't finished. She walked over to Ethan, took his hand in front of everyone. The night I called him my love, I was angry, frustrated, acting on impulse. Diane's face went white. This wasn't what they'd discussed. Amara was supposed to keep things vague, professional. But today, Amara continued, I'm saying it because it's true. Because I've never felt this way about anyone. Because he makes me want to be a better person. Complete silence. You could have heard a pin drop. I know what some of you are thinking, that this is about money, or rebellion, or some kind of phase. She squeezed Ethan's hand. It's not. It's about finding someone who sees me for who I am, not what I own, not what I can do for them, just me. Uncle Reggie started to smile. I love him, she said simply, and I'm not going to hide it anymore. Not from you. Not from anyone. The room was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. Then Uncle Reggie began to clap, slow, deliberate. About time, he said. Cousin Sarah joined in the applause, then her husband. All eyes turned to Diane, the matriarch, the one whose approval mattered most. She studied Ethan with sharp eyes, evaluating, measuring, looking for signs of deception or greed. What she saw was a man who stood quietly beside her daughter, not grasping for attention, not trying to impress, just present, solid, real. She saw how he looked at Amara, not like she was a prize to be won, like she was a person to be cherished, and she saw something else, something she hadn't seen in her daughter's face in years, peace, joy, the kind of happiness that came from the inside out. Diane stood slowly, walked over to where they stood together. Mr. Cole, she said formally. Yes, ma'am. Do you make my daughter happy? I try to. Will you take care of her? With my life. And if people judge you, judge this relationship, will you stand by her? Always, Diane nodded slowly. Then I suppose I'll have to learn to live with it. She paused. Actually, if you make her smile like that, I might even learn to like it. The tension in the room broke like a snapped wire. People started talking again, laughing, moving around. Uncle Reggie came over and shook Ethan's hand firmly. Welcome to the family, son. Cousin Sarah hugged them both. This is the most exciting birthday present ever. As the lunch progressed, Ethan relaxed. These were just people. Rich people, yes, but people with stories and problems and hopes like everyone else. They asked about his family, his work, his plans, not to judge, but to understand. When he mentioned Tommy's bridge building, Uncle Reggie launched into stories about his own grandson's engineering experiments. When he talked about helping Lily, Diane nodded approvingly. Family comes first. I respect that. By dessert, the conversation was flowing naturally, like he'd been part of the family for years instead of hours. As people were saying goodbye, Diane pulled Amara aside. I was wrong, she said quietly. About him, about what you needed. Mom, I've been so focused on protecting you that I forgot you might need something different than protection, someone different. Are you okay with this? Really? Diane looked at Ethan, who was helping Uncle Reggie with his coat. Simple kindness, unconscious respect. He's not what I would have chosen for you, she said honestly. But he's what you chose, and you're glowing with happiness. So yes, I'm okay with it. As Amara and Ethan walked out of the hotel together, she felt lighter than she had in weeks, months maybe. That went better than expected, Ethan said. Much better. Your mother surprised me. She surprised me too, but I think she genuinely wants me to be happy. And are you? Happy? Amara stopped walking, turned to face him. I'm terrified, excited, overwhelmed, but yes, I'm happy. Even though people will still gossip, even though this won't be easy, especially because of that, because we're choosing each other despite the complications. Ethan smiled. So what now? Now we figure out how to build a life together, a real life, in public, where everyone can see. I'd like that. Even if it means dealing with my crazy family on a regular basis. Your family's great. Besides, you haven't met Lily when she's in full protective mode. That should be interesting. They laughed together as they walked toward the car. Their car now. Their life. It wouldn't be perfect, There would be challenges, gossip, people who didn't understand, but they'd face it together, in the light, where love was meant to live. 6 weeks later, the Lewis Hotel hosted a community luncheon. Nothing fancy, just local business owners, employees, and neighbors gathering for good food and conversation. Amara had suggested the event. "We should celebrate the people who make this community work," she'd told the staff, "not just the ones with money." The response had been overwhelming. Teachers, shop owners, nurses, mechanics, firefighters, people who rarely got invited to hotel events were coming together in the elegant ballroom. Ethan stood near the entrance, greeting guests. His official title was now Fleet and Itbur, Transportation Manager. But really, he did whatever needed doing. Fixed broken things, solved problems, helped people feel welcome. The job came with better pay, more responsibility, and the respect that came from being valued for his skills instead of hidden in the background. "Mr. Cole," a familiar voice called out. He turned to see Mrs. Patterson, the elderly woman from the garage. She was dressed in her best Sunday outfit, beaming with excitement. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm so glad you could come." "Wouldn't miss it for the world. And I brought my grandson. He's studying to be a mechanic, too." A shy teenager stepped forward. Ethan shook his hand seriously. "Good choice. The world always needs people who can fix things." Near the registration table, Jem was helping guests find their seats. He'd been promoted to Assistant Guest Services Manager. His integrity during the photo scandal had impressed everyone. The junior concierge who'd leaked the photo was gone. Fired, but with a recommendation for a fresh start somewhere else. Sometimes people deserved second chances, too. In the kitchen, Uncle Reggie supervised the catering. He'd insisted on volunteering for the event. "Community service keeps you young," he'd said. Actually, he just wanted to make sure the coffee was good and the portions generous. Lily arrived with Tommy, who was wearing his best shirt and newest sneakers. He'd been talking about the fancy hotel party for days. "Uncle Ethan," he ran over for his customary hug. "Hey, buddy, ready for some fancy food?" "Is there cake?" "Definitely cake." Tommy grinned and ran off to explore the ballroom. Lily watched him go with a smile. "He's so excited. This is the fanciest place he's ever been." "For me too, until a few months ago. And now look at you, assistant manager, dating the boss, living the dream." Ethan laughed. "It doesn't feel like a dream. It feels real." "Good. Real is better than dreams anyway." Across the room, Amara was talking with a group of teachers from Tommy's school. She'd insisted on inviting them after learning about their budget struggles. "The hotel can sponsor some of your field trips," she was saying. "Education is important. We want to support it." The teachers beamed. This kind of community partnership could make a real difference for their students. Diane approached the group. "Ms. Lewis is passionate about education. We all are." It was still formal, still careful, but it was progress. Diane was learning to support her daughter's choices even when they weren't what she would have chosen. As the afternoon wore on, something beautiful happened. The invisible lines between different groups started to blur. Rich and working class, young and old, different backgrounds, different stories, but all part of the same community. Joe from the garage was deep in conversation with a hotel board member about hybrid engines. A nurse was comparing stories with Diane about dealing with difficult people. Tommy was showing Uncle Reggie his latest block bridge design. Near the dessert table, Ethan and Amara found themselves alone for a moment. "This is wonderful," she said, watching the mixed crowd of guests. "It really is. Everyone looks happy. Including us. Especially us." A photographer from the local newspaper approached. "Ms. Lewis, could I get a picture for our community section?" 6 months ago, Amara would have panicked, worried about how the photo would look, what people would say, whether it would hurt her image. Today, she just smiled and took Ethan's hand. Of course. They posed together in front of the dessert table, not trying to hide anything, not worried about judgment, just two people in love, surrounded by their community. As the photographer snapped pictures, Tommy ran over. "Can I be in the picture too?" "Absolutely," Amara said, lifting him up between them. Lily joined them. Then Uncle Reggie, moving slowly but smiling wide. Then Jem, still wearing his name tag. What started as a couple's photo became a family portrait. All the people who mattered, all the love that had grown from one brave moment in a hotel hallway. As the afternoon ended and guests began to leave, Ethan and Amara stood on the hotel steps. The sun was setting, painting the sky gold and pink. "Perfect day," Amara said. "Perfect ending to a perfect day." "Is it an ending or a beginning?" Ethan squeezed her hand. "Beginning. Definitely a beginning." A small group of guests walked by. Mrs. Patterson waved goodbye. "Thank you for a wonderful afternoon." "Thank you for coming," Amara called back. As the last guest disappeared down the street, Amara turned to Ethan. "I have something to tell you." "What's that?" She looked into his eyes, the same steady, kind eyes that had caught her attention that first rainy day, the eyes that saw her for who she really was. "I love you, Ethan Cole, in front of all these people, in the bright daylight, where everyone can see." His smile was like sunshine. "I love you too, Amara Lewis. Always have, always will." "Always?" "Always." They walked into the hotel together, hand in hand, no longer hiding in shadows or worried about whispers, just two people who had found each other across different worlds, who had chosen love over fear, truth over comfort, each other over everyone else's expectations. Behind them, the city sparkled in the evening light, full of other people with other stories, other chances for love to bloom in unexpected places. But this story, their story, had found its happy ending. Not because everything was perfect, but because they'd learned the most important truth of all. Real love doesn't survive by hiding. It grows when named in ordinary daylight, when chosen again and again in front of witnesses, despite the complications. And sometimes, if you're very lucky and very brave, that love lasts forever.